this computer. Okay, we're recording our weekly package team meeting. Looks like the first couple of options are me. The first item on there is to review the 12.2 milestone has been groomed and ready for initial review. So we have a meeting this afternoon, actually. Dan and John, you both are on it, and Nick and Steve, you're optional. You can attend if possible, but we may do multiple of these review sessions depending on how today goes, it sounds like.
Tim, just a heads up, I might be a few minutes late to that, or just dialed in from my phone as I'm getting back to my office.
Should I just move it back 10 minutes?
That's up to you. I have another meeting at 2:30 that I would be dropping for. Up to you all. I'll do my absolute best. I just have a barber appointment I can't cancel. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be done as quick as I can.
No problem.
Keep in mind that John's got a lot of extra work on this week. He's helping out with the release team. So.
And getting ready for a trip as well.
A lot of meetings backing up to the vacation, but yeah, no worries. So I should be fine, but just a heads up if I'm a few minutes late, that's why.
Okay, no problem. The next one's an FYI. I wanted to share with the team some of the user interviews that I've been conducting, and also open up the idea. We have a few friendly ones that are coming up. Dan recommended some people that are maintaining container registries. If anyone would like to participate and listen in, please let me know. I'm happy to invite you, and you could hear firsthand what people are saying instead of just watching the video. So if you'd like to participate in that, there's a few coming up this week, and then there's a couple probably next week. So there's still time to jump in and listen into those conversations. Yeah, and then we are slated to have our new product designer start the week of July 8th. It's tentative still. I think the paperwork has not been officially signed yet, but it's looking like that's going to be the start date. And I'll let everybody know if something changes.
Cool. Thanks, Tim.
No problem.
And I have the next couple of items. Well, one really, because I'm not going to actually read out the last item there. It's not really video friendly. We have all of our contracts for our back-end engineers signed now, saving for one, which we have a verbal acceptance for. Our next person, I think that's the exact correct terminology, starts on the 8th of July. And then we have another person joining on the 1st of August, and then another person on the 5th of August. The last person who we are in the process of getting all of their contracts sorted out will be in September. And then it feels like a really slow process to sort of start up, even though all the hiring's done, at least as far as the backend engineers are concerned. But yeah, I just wanted to update everyone on that. So like a week or two, we'll have someone joining the team. That person is in Melbourne in Australia, rather than Florida. Yeah, that's where Melbourne is in the States. So we'll have some fun working out our asynchronous meetings a little more. And if anyone has any questions on that, obviously just hit me up.
Great. That's it for the agenda items. Does anyone else have anything to talk about? No?
So before we wrap up, we're getting through this meeting like in 5 minutes. I'm not sure if this is really worth having a synchronous meeting for. I think I like having a sort of a get together and sort of at least saying hello to everyone and seeing everyone's lovely faces. But it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot to cover here that needs to be covered synchronously. So if anyone has any thoughts on that or a preference either way, happy to hear it now, or you can just chat. We can chat about it in the Slack channel or somewhere else that's more useful. Thoughts, John?
Yeah, I think as the team builds out a little bit more, Dan, maybe to your point, this may become more useful as we have issues that are potentially blocked or at risk, and more team announcements, things like that. That's kind of how Release and Verify have been working so far. But yeah, I agree. We're getting through this super quick, maybe just because the team's spinning up still.
Yeah, and maybe it's worth saying that this meeting isn't intended just to be for Tim and I to make announcements, or John to make announcements. So if people have questions or anything, it's really an opportunity to have a couple of minutes with everyone on the team who's sort of aware of what's going on and ask questions, put it in the agenda, and we can cover it. Now, obviously, we're recording these, and we want to make sure that I'm being careful about the usual information that we don't want to be sharing, but let's think of these as a team opportunity to chat, not some, announcements thing of Tim and I.
Do we feel like this is overlaps a little bit with the weekly retro? I mean, are we discussing things there that we would potentially discuss here, or are they two separate conversations? Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I know it's a fair point. I feel like the intention of a retro is a little bit different from this, right? Like,
sure.
The intention of our retro is to sort of say what went well and what didn't go well. So I think rather than sort of saying, we're covering things here that we ought to be covering there, or vice versa, I think it's worthwhile sort of just focusing the meetings on the subject at hand. It's something I want to be careful about. It's not like packing too much into single meetings where we can have like shorter, like little get-togethers and get through what we need to get through, as long as it's actually helpful to do it synchronously. And keeping in mind that we will have people spanning from Melbourne to Romania at some point. And so these synchronous meetings will be a bit of a luxury. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Does anyone else have thoughts on that?
Well, should this meeting kind of function sort of like an interactive stand-up? So like in addition to the little like stand-up notes that we write in Slack, if there's just any like talking points or questions like on a weekly basis, would this be like kind of what that's for?
Yeah, I think that's totally something we can do. I think the main value I get out of this meeting so far, as I was kind of alluding to before, is just the chance to sort of have a live conversation with people for the team's sake, right? And maybe, as John said, as we get larger, we'll have more moving parts. We're going to have more work because we'll have more people actually doing that work, and so there'll be more to coordinate. But the value of at least occasionally sort of getting together and having a chat, and this meeting itself could become less formal rather than more formal. I'm a bit of an advocate for not repeating ourselves. Like, so if you put notes in stand-up, I don't really, if there's a good reason to discuss it, that's great, like no question. But there's no reason to just repeat that stuff verbatim. I'm not suggesting you were thinking that, but I want to think about this more of like, hey, what is the use of this meeting? And if it's just some other form of something we're already doing, then it's like, why would we do it? But yeah, anyone else have thoughts on that? I tend to agree that this is a chance to chat. Stephen, I didn't mean to shut you down there at all. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah, that's kind of what I meant, was like, if there's just like a thought on anything worth bringing up with regards to any of the stand-up stuff, not necessarily just rewording it in any way.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
Everybody consider. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask John, you as being on the verify and release teams, does it seem like these meetings are effective for them? Or are they talking about different things?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, maybe the only thing we're doing a little differently over there is we're calling out specifically a section for folks to add at risk or blocked issues. And that might not be super pertinent right now, but as we grow, that could be a nice way to call things out. Kind of ties in maybe to what Steve's saying, like just talking points around issues. But that's nice, just so the whole team is aware on a weekly cadence what if anybody's blocked or any issues, anything they want to talk about.
Yeah, I think it might be, for me, I know it's, while I'm still learning the cadence of the, product organization, it might be helpful to know which dates are coming up and that type of thing. Like, we just went through our async retro, and we'll all get reminders for that from the engineering side at least, that will sort of, those things will become part of the engineering retro as a whole. And so I'm sort of thinking in terms of using our retro notes for that, but just sort of understanding what dates come next. You know, Tim, I think you do a great job of that already, but that's helpful for me. What time in the morning? What time of this is this meeting for you, Nick? Sorry to change the subject. We can go back.
Nothing. It's 4 p.m. for me right now, or it starts at 4.
Okay, so this is not too bad for you. Cool. What were you going to say, Tim? Sorry about that.
I was just going to say the important date we're working towards now is the 1st. So having, by the 1st, we want scope and capacity planning done for the upcoming milestone, which is 12/2. So and then the kickoff is on the 8th still. So the idea is agree on scope, and then by the 8th, we have the kickoff document updated with what we will be working on and what we plan to finish. And then we go through and, update that as we go.
Cool. All right. So it sounds like we're just in a sort of place right now where we have not a whole lot to talk about because there aren't a whole lot of us. And to some extent, I mean, Steve's still getting up to speed, Nick's still getting up to speed. So maybe, as John suggested, this is sort of just a function of us being kind of just all new at stuff. So happy to keep this. I think it's what sort of got my alarm bells ringing was we were done for the agenda at 4 minutes. And I'm like, this feels like it might be a waste of time. But as long as we're all happy to meet and just chat for a minute, I'm really good with that because, doing this is also helpful. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
It sounds good to me. I'm happy to at least have the chance to talk to and see everyone once a week, which is nice.
Would it be helpful as we talk about these dates, I don't know if there's a good format maybe it's worth sharing them in the package channel, and they're just sort of linking to the information on timings so that, other people in the team can sort of look up what it means to be like going through and creating issues, going and doing all that sort of process, finalizing what we're committing to for the next release and all that kind of stuff. Since we're all new, that is.
Yeah, and one thing Jason, my boss, does for me is at the beginning of each week, he'll remind me what the upcoming milestones are for the week. So he'll say, we're working towards the 1st, we should be working on scope and capacity planning. We're working towards the 22nd, it's the release post and blah, blah, blah. So I could just do the same thing on Monday mornings, just post in the important date for the week as well. I find it helpful for myself, so hopefully it's helpful for the channel.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. I think I'd find that helpful, and it doesn't sound like it'd be too noisy. So, yeah, that'd be cool if you wouldn't mind doing that, Tim.
No problem.
Do we want to set automatic reminders in the channel? We've done that in some other areas. Did some folks found that helpful? Just a thought.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah,
there's like that red, like the flashing lights.
Cool. Well, let's figure that out. Cool. All right. Does anyone else have any other thoughts? Cool. All right. Well, I think we are done. And it sounds like we'll just sort of keep going through and again, I just encourage everyone to, like, if you have anything you want to just chat with everyone, just put it in the agenda. But otherwise, for your time. Lovely to see everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Talk soon. Bye.